The alarm screamed across the bridge of the massive warship. Red lights flashed everywhere as officers ran to their stations. Admiral Veltar Konis gripped the arms of his command chair and stared at the main screen with wide eyes. "Report," he shouted over the noise. Navigation Officer Theklos looked up from his console, fear clear on his scaled face. "Admiral, we have detected an unknown vessel at the edge of our space. It appeared from nowhere, sir. Our sensors show no jump signature, no energy trail. It's like it just materialized." Admiral Konis had commanded the Kethrian Empire's most powerful ship for 20 years. The Sovereign's wrath was 3 kilometers long and carried enough firepower to destroy entire fleets. He had seen rebellions crushed and enemy empires brought to their knees. Nothing should surprise him anymore, but this did. "Show me," he ordered. The main screen changed to display the edge of Kethrian space. Stars dotted the darkness, peaceful and familiar. Then a small marker appeared, highlighting something that made no sense. "There, Admiral," Theklos pointed with a shaking finger. "The vessel is small, maybe frigate size. But look at these readings." Numbers flowed across the screen, speed readings that climbed higher and higher, energy signatures that matched nothing in their databases, hull composition that their scanners couldn't identify. "That's impossible," whispered Science Officer Kekmara from her station. "Nothing can accelerate that fast." The crew would be turned to paste. Admiral Konis studied the data. His empire controlled 67 star systems. They had the most advanced technology in the galaxy. Their ships were feared from the core worlds to the outer rim. But this small vessel was moving at speeds that their best ships couldn't match. "Where is it headed?" he asked. Theklos worked his console frantically. "Sir, if it maintains current course and speed, it will reach Kethros Prime in 18 hours. The bridge fell silent. Kethros Prime was their capital world, home to 50 billion Kethrians and Emperor Nexthil himself. No enemy had ever threatened the capital directly. "Communications, open all channels," Admiral Konis ordered. "Unknown vessel. This is Admiral Veltar Konis of the Kethrian Imperial Navy. You are entering restricted space. State your identity and purpose immediately." They waited. "Nothing. Try again," the Admiral said. "Unknown vessel. You are in violation of Imperial law. Change course immediately or face the consequences." Still nothing. The small ship continued its impossible journey toward their capital. In his crystal throne room on Kethros Prime, Emperor Nexthil received the report from his military advisors. The ruler of the galaxy's most feared empire sat motionless as the words washed over him. "An unknown vessel, my emperor," General Rextarian explained, "moving at impossible speeds toward our capital. It ignores all communication attempts." Emperor Nexthil was old even by Kethrian standards. He had ruled for 3 centuries, expanding the empire through conquest and fear. His scales were dark with age, but his eyes still burned with intelligence. "Unknown to us?" he asked quietly. "Are you certain?" "Yes, my emperor. Our xenobiologists have studied every spacefaring race in this sector. This ship belongs to none of them." Dr. Zexandra, the Empire's chief scientist, stepped forward. "My emperor, the vessel's technology is beyond our understanding. Its speed alone suggests propulsion systems we cannot explain. And the hull materials. Our sensors cannot penetrate them." The Emperor leaned back in his throne. For the first time in decades, he felt something he had almost forgotten. Uncertainty. "Deploy the 3rd Fleet," he ordered. "Intercept this vessel before it reaches the inner system." Back on the Sovereign's wrath, Admiral Konis watched as his fleet moved to intercept. 12 of the Empire's most powerful warships spread across space, forming a wall between the unknown vessel and their capital. "Admiral," called Weapons Officer Kreltos, "the vessel is not changing course. It's heading straight for us. All ships battle stations," Admiral Konis commanded. "Prepare to engage." The Kethrian fleet was impressive. Each ship was a kilometer long, bristling with plasma cannons and particle beams. Their shields could withstand planet-killing weapons. Their crews were the best trained in the galaxy. But as the unknown vessel approached, "Something strange happened, sir," Theklos reported. "The vessel is accelerating." "That's impossible," Admiral Konis said. "Nothing can accelerate that close to a gravity well." But the readings didn't lie. The small ship was speeding up, moving through space like it didn't care about physics. It approached the Kethrian fleet at speeds that should have torn it apart. "Evasive maneuvers," Admiral Konis shouted. The massive Kethrian warships tried to move out of the way, but they were too slow. The unknown vessel shot past them like they were standing still. It weaved between their ships with perfect precision, never slowing down, never showing any sign of strain. "How is it doing that?" Dr. Zexandra whispered. On the small vessel, Captain Han Jiho sat calmly in his command chair. The bridge of the Pioneer's Edge was quiet and efficient. No alarms, no shouting, no panic, just professional calm. "Status report," he said in Korean. Lieutenant Park Min-ho looked up from his tactical station. "Sir, we have 12 large warships in our path. They appear to be trying to intercept us. Their capabilities? Primitive plasma weapons, basic shield technology. Their ships are large but slow. I estimate their top speed at about 15% of our cruising velocity." Commander Kim Suman, Captain Jiho's second-in-command, studied her display. "Their formation suggests they've never faced peer-level opposition." "Very predictable patterns," Captain Jiho nodded. Behind them, hidden beyond the range of Kethrian sensors, waited the rest of humanity's first interstellar fleet. 50 ships like the Pioneer's Edge, each one carrying technology that would revolutionize galactic warfare. But they weren't here to fight. "Not yet. Maintain course and speed," Captain Jiho ordered. "Let them make the first move." The Pioneer's Edge continued toward Kethros Prime, leaving the stunned Kethrian fleet behind. On their bridges, alien officers stared at sensors that made no sense. "Should we pursue?" asked Captain Morketh of the cruiser Iron Fang. "With what?" Admiral Konus replied bitterly. "We can't match that speed. And even if we could," he paused, staring at the impossible readings on his screen, "I don't think our weapons would matter." Dr. Zexandra was studying her instruments with growing alarm. "Admiral, I'm detecting quantum fluctuations around the vessel. It's like space itself is being manipulated." "What does that mean?" "I'm not sure. But whatever technology they're using, it's centuries ahead of ours." Emperor Nexthul received updates as the unknown vessel passed through his outer defenses like they didn't exist. His best ships, his most experienced commanders reduced to helpless observers. "My Emperor," General Rextarian said carefully, "perhaps we should consider diplomatic contact." The Emperor's eyes flashed. "The Kethrian Empire does not negotiate from weakness. But my Emperor, if their technology is so advanced, then we will learn from it," Emperor Nexthul declared. "After we capture them." On the Pioneer's Edge, Communications Officer Choi Yuna monitored all Kethrian transmissions. Her universal translator was already learning their language, building a database for future contact. "Sir," she reported to Captain Jiho, "they're mobilizing additional forces. It looks like they're planning to make a stand at their capital system." Captain Jiho smiled slightly. "Good. It's time they understood what they're dealing with." The small human vessel continued its journey through Kethrian space, leaving confusion and fear in its wake. Behind it, the most powerful empire in the galaxy struggled to understand what it had encountered. None of them knew that this was just the beginning. The unknown vessel wasn't an invasion force or a scout ship. It was a messenger, carrying an offer that would change everything. But first, the Kethrians would have to learn a simple truth that humanity had discovered long ago. The universe was much bigger and more dangerous than they had ever imagined, and sometimes, the greatest threats came in the smallest packages. The Sovereign's Wrath and her escort fleet raced after the unknown vessel, but it was like chasing starlight. Admiral Veltar Konus stood on his bridge, watching his finest ships struggle to match even half the speed of the mysterious craft. "Time to intercept?" he asked. Navigation Officer Theklos worked frantically at his console. "Sir, at current speeds we won't catch them until they reach Kethros Prime, and that's only if they maintain their present velocity." "Sir," called Science Officer Kekamara, "I'm reading some very strange energy patterns from that vessel. It's like nothing in our databases." Admiral Konus had spent his entire career studying enemy ship designs. Kethrian intelligence files contained detailed information about every known spacecraft in the galaxy. This vessel matched none of them. "Show me everything we have," he ordered. The main screen filled with data. Hull scans showed a sleek angular design unlike the bulky warships favored by most species. The vessel's surface seemed to bend light around it, making detailed analysis almost impossible. "The propulsion system is completely unknown," Dr. Zexandra reported from the science station. "There's no ion trail, no fusion signature, no antimatter readings. Whatever moves that ship, it's technology we've never seen." "And the crew?" Admiral Konis asked. That's the strange part, sir. I'm detecting life signs, but they're different. The biological readings don't match any species in our records. Admiral Konis felt a chill run down his spine. The Kethrian Empire had conquered or made contact with dozens of alien species. Their xenobiologists could identify any known life form from sensor readings alone. Different how? Dr. Zexandra studied her instruments carefully. Carbon-based, but with unusual chemical markers. Brain activity patterns unlike anything we've cataloged. And sir, the gravity readings inside that ship suggest the crew can withstand much higher acceleration forces than any known species. On the Pioneer's edge, Captain Han Jiho reviewed the tactical situation with his officers. The human ship's bridge was calm and quiet, a sharp contrast to the frantic activity on the Kethrian vessels pursuing them. Analysis of the alien fleet? He asked in Korean. Lieutenant Park Minho consulted his tactical display. Sir, 12 heavy cruisers, all using similar technology. Plasma-based weapons, electromagnetic shields, fusion propulsion. Their largest ship appears to be their flagship. Crew complement? Approximately 8,000 per vessel, sir. They're heavily armed, but built for intimidation rather than efficiency. Commander Kim Suman looked up from her station. Captain, their pursuit formation suggests they expect to fight enemies using similar technology. They have no tactical doctrine for dealing with our capabilities. Captain Jiho nodded. The human ship could outrun, outmaneuver, and outfight the entire Kethrian fleet without effort, but that wasn't why they were here. Any response to our passive scanning? He asked. Communications Officer Choi Yuna shook her head. No, sir. They're still trying to contact us on basic radio frequencies. Their translation attempts are primitive. Through the ship's quantum communication array, Captain Jiho received an encrypted message from Admiral Lee Dongwu, commanding the human task force waiting beyond sensor range. Jiho, how are our new neighbors reacting? About as expected, sir. Confused, frightened, and trying to project strength they don't possess? Any sign of advanced weapons? Captain Jiho glanced at his tactical display. Nothing we can't handle. Their technology is roughly equivalent to our early fusion age designs. Maintain current approach. Let them make the next move. Back on the Kethrian flagship, Admiral Konis received an urgent communication from Emperor Nexthul himself. Admiral, what is the status of this intruder? My Emperor, we are pursuing but cannot match their speed. The vessel continues toward Kethros Prime, ignoring all communication attempts. Then make them listen. Admiral Konis hesitated. My Emperor, their technology appears far advanced. Perhaps we should attempt peaceful contact. The Kethrian Empire does not show weakness to aliens. The Emperor's voice was cold. Fire a warning shot. Make them understand our power. Yes, my Emperor. Admiral Konis turned to his weapons officer. Kreltos, target the space directly ahead of the unknown vessel. Full power main plasma cannon. Weapons officer Kreltos paused. Sir, that's enough firepower to vaporize an asteroid. I'm aware of that fire. The Sovereign's wrath unleashed its main weapon. A stream of superheated plasma, bright as a small star, lanced across space toward the unknown vessel. It was a weapon that had destroyed entire fleets. A demonstration of Kethrian might that had brought empires to their knees. On the Pioneer's edge, Lieutenant Park Minho calmly announced, Sir, incoming plasma discharge. Moderate power level. Response? Captain Jiho asked. Minimal evasion required. The human ship shifted position by several thousand kilometers in the blink of an eye. To the Kethrians, it simply vanished and reappeared elsewhere. The plasma blast passed through empty space, hitting nothing. On the Kethrian bridge, silence fell like a weight. Where did it go? Admiral Konis whispered. Sir, the vessel has moved 3,000 kilometers to port, Theklos reported, his voice shaking. The movement was instantaneous. No acceleration, no energy signature. It just moved. Dr. Zexandra stared at her instruments in disbelief. Admiral, that's impossible. Nothing can change position that quickly without massive energy expenditure. And yet it did, Admiral Konis said quietly. The implications hit them all at once. Their most powerful weapon had been effortlessly avoided. The unknown vessel had treated their attack like a minor inconvenience. Sir, Communications Officer Valkyra spoke up. Should we attempt another warning shot? No, Admiral Konis said slowly. I don't think warnings will work on these beings. On Kethros Prime, Emperor Nexthul received the report of the failed warning shot. His advisors watched nervously as their ruler processed this information. They avoided our weapon? he asked. Yes, my Emperor, completely. Our sensors couldn't even track how they moved. General Rextarian stepped forward. My Emperor, perhaps this species possesses technology we should study rather than fight. The Kethrian Empire has never retreated from aliens, Emperor Nexthal declared. Deploy the World Breaker. If they won't respond to warnings, they'll respond to absolute power. His advisors exchanged worried glances. The World Breaker was the Empire's newest weapon, a massive battle station capable of destroying planets. It had never been used in actual combat. My Emperor, Dr. Zexandra said carefully, if their technology is so advanced, then we'll see just how advanced it is. The Emperor cut her off. Contact Captain Yulthanis. Tell him to prepare the primary weapon systems. In the depths of space, the battle station World Breaker began moving toward the intercept point. 10,000 crew members prepared the ultimate expression of Kethrian military might. Meanwhile, the Pioneer's Edge continued its approach to the capital system. On the bridge, Engineering Officer Lim Taewan reported on the alien response. Sir, they're deploying a large space station. Mass approximately 50 million tons, length 12 kilometers. Massive power readings. Captain Jiho studied the tactical display. Assessment? Planet killer class weapon, sir. Significant firepower but very slow and unwieldy. Commander Kim Suman looked up from her analysis. Captain, they're positioning it directly in our path. They want to force a confrontation. Captain Jiho considered this. Through quantum communication, he contacted Admiral Lee Dongwu again. Admiral, they're escalating, deploying what appears to be their ultimate weapon. Your recommendation? Time to show them what they're dealing with, sir. Make it clear but not devastating. Agreed. You have authorization for limited demonstration. Captain Jiho turned to his crew. Prepare the kinetic weapons. 1 round, minimal yield. As the human ship approached the massive battle station, the Kethrians watched with a mixture of fear and anticipation. They had deployed their most powerful weapon, something that could crack planets. Surely this would make the aliens understand Kethrian power. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The small, sleek vessel continued its impossible approach, showing no fear of the weapon that could destroy worlds. In a few hours, they would discover that some technologies were so advanced that size no longer mattered. And in the depths of space, 50 more ships exactly like the Pioneer's Edge waited for the signal to reveal themselves to a galaxy that had never imagined such power could exist. The World Breaker moved through space like a floating mountain. 12 kilometers of armored hull bristled with weapon systems that could turn planets into asteroid fields. Captain Yulthanis stood on the command bridge, watching the unknown vessel approach on his main screen. Status report, he ordered. Sir, primary weapon systems at full power. Reported Weapons Control Officer Thekvana. Energy capacitors charged to maximum. We can fire at any time. Captain Yulthanis had commanded the World Breaker for 5 years, but this was its first real combat deployment. The battle station represented the ultimate achievement of Kethrian military technology. Nothing had ever survived its primary weapon. Target the alien vessel, he commanded. Full power. Sir, that's enough energy to destroy a moon, Thekvana said uncertainly. I'm aware of the weapon's capabilities. Fire when ready. On the bridge of the Sovereign's Wrath, Admiral Veltar Konis watched the confrontation unfold. His fleet had taken position around the battle station, ready to support the World Breaker if needed. Admiral, called Dr. Zexandra, the unknown vessel is still approaching. No change in course or speed. They must see the World Breaker, Admiral Konis muttered. Nothing could miss something that large. Perhaps they don't understand what it is, suggested Science Officer Kekmara. Then they're about to learn. The alien vessel continued its steady approach, showing no sign of fear or caution. To the Kethrians, it seemed like suicide. The small ship was heading directly toward their ultimate weapon. On the Pioneer's Edge, Captain Han Jiho received tactical updates from his crew. Sir, Lieutenant Park Minho reported, the large space station is charging what appears to be a massive energy weapon. Power levels are significant. Yield estimate, approximately 10,000 times more powerful than their standard ship-based weapons. Definitely a planet killer class system. Engineering Officer Lim Taewan looked up from his console. Sir, their power generation is impressive for their technology level. The weapon could probably crack a small moon. Commander Kim Suman studied the tactical display. They're positioning it directly in our path. They want to force us to stop or be destroyed. Captain Jiho smiled slightly. How long to intercept? 12 minutes at current speed, sir. More than enough time. Captain Jiho opened a secure channel to Admiral Lee Dongwu. Admiral, they've deployed their ultimate weapon. Request permission to demonstrate our capabilities. What do you have in mind? 1 kinetic strike. Minimal collateral damage, maximum psychological impact. Approved. Show them what they're dealing with. Captain Jiho turned to his weapons officer. Taiwan, prepare kinetic weapon system. Single tungsten rod, half light speed. Yes, sir. Targeting the space station? Center mass. Make it clean. On the world breaker, Captain Yothanis watched the small vessel grow larger on his screen. It was impossibly sleek, like a blade cutting through space. No ship he'd ever seen moved with such perfect grace. Range? He asked. 50,000 kilometers and closing, reported Navigation Officer Morkelth. Still no response to our warnings. Then they've chosen their fate. Thekvana, fire. The world breaker unleashed its primary weapon, a beam of pure energy, bright enough to blind unprotected eyes, lanced across space toward the small vessel. It was death itself, concentrated into a column of destructive force. For exactly 0.3 seconds, the human ship fired a single projectile, a tungsten rod, no bigger than a telephone pole, accelerated by magnetic coils to 40% of light speed. To Kethrian sensors, it was barely detectable until the moment of impact. The world breaker died in nuclear fire. The tungsten rod punched through the battle station's armor like it was paper. The kinetic energy, equivalent to several fusion bombs, vaporized everything it touched. Secondary explosions ripped through the massive structure as power cores overloaded and weapon systems exploded. In less than 5 seconds, 10,000 Kethrian lives and 3 centuries of technological achievement became expanding plasma and debris. The Pioneer's Edge emerged from the explosion completely unharmed. Its deflector shields parted the debris field like water, the sleek hull unmarked by the destruction around it. On the bridge of the Sovereign's Wrath, Admiral Veltar Konis stared in shock at the space where their ultimate weapon had been. His instruments showed only wreckage and radiation. Report, he whispered. Sir, Navigation Officer Theklas's voice was barely audible. The world breaker is gone. Complete destruction. No survivors. How is that possible? Dr. Zexandra studied her sensors with shaking hands. Admiral, I detected a single projectile from the alien vessel. Physical impact, not energy-based. The velocity readings they're impossible. Show me. The main screen displayed the sensor data from the attack. The numbers made no sense. The projectile had been moving at speeds that should have required the entire power output of a star to achieve. Sir, Science Officer Kekmara called out. I'm reading massive energy discharges from the alien vessel's hull. But the ship shows no damage. It's like the explosion couldn't touch them. Admiral Konis felt his world shifting. The world breaker had been their ultimate weapon, their guarantee of imperial dominance. This small alien vessel had destroyed it with a single shot. Sir? Communications Officer Valkyra said quietly. The alien ship is opening a channel. Put it through. The main screen changed to show the bridge of the alien vessel. Admiral Konis found himself looking at beings unlike any he'd ever seen. They were smaller than Kethrians, with soft skin instead of scales. But their eyes held intelligence and confidence. The being in the command chair spoke, his words translated by their computers. This is Captain Han Jiho of the United Earthship Pioneer's Edge. We come in peace, but we are prepared for war. We request an audience with your leadership to discuss the terms of first contact between our civilizations. Admiral Konis struggled to find his voice. You destroyed our most powerful weapon. We defended ourselves against attack, Captain Jiho replied calmly. We prefer not to fight, but we will if necessary. Will you arrange a meeting with your Emperor? Before Admiral Konis could respond, his communications officer received an urgent message from the capital. Emperor Nexthol's image appeared on a secondary screen. Admiral, what happened to the world breaker? My Emperor. It was destroyed by a single shot from the alien vessel. Their weapons are beyond our understanding. The Emperor's scaled face showed emotions Admiral Konis had never seen before. Uncertainty. Fear. For the first time in 3 centuries of rule, Emperor Nexthol faced something he couldn't conquer. My Emperor. Captain Jiho's voice cut through the silence. We request peaceful dialogue. We have no desire to be your enemies. But we will defend ourselves if attacked again. You dare make demands of the Kethrian Empire? The Emperor snarled, but his voice lacked its usual authority. We make no demands, only requests, Captain Jiho replied. But perhaps you should know that you're not dealing with a single ship. At that moment, every sensor array in the Kethrian fleet registered the same impossible reading. Ships were appearing throughout their space. Not one or two, but dozens, all identical to the vessel that had just destroyed their ultimate weapon. Admiral Konis watched his tactical display fill with contact markers. 50 alien ships, each one as deadly as the Pioneer's Edge, materialized across 12 star systems simultaneously. This is Admiral Lee Dongwu of the Earth Colonial Navy. A new voice spoke over the communications channel. We represent humanity's first contact fleet. We come in peace, but we are prepared to defend ourselves and our allies. Dr. Zexandra's voice was barely a whisper. Admiral, there are human ships surrounding every major world in our empire. They appeared simultaneously across thousands of light years. That level of coordination it's impossible. But the evidence was right there on their screens. The Kethrian Empire, masters of 67 star systems, suddenly found themselves outnumbered and outgunned in their own space. Emperor Nexthul stared at the readings from across his empire. His most trusted advisors showed him reports that made no sense. Alien ships with impossible technology had appeared everywhere at once. My Emperor, General Rextarian said carefully, perhaps we should consider their request for dialogue. Emperor Nexthul was silent for a long moment. His empire had been built on strength and fear, but these humans had demonstrated power beyond his wildest imagination. Captain Jiho, he said finally, I will grant your request for an audience, but know that the Kethrian Empire does not surrender. We don't expect you to surrender, Captain Jiho replied. We expect you to listen. The galaxy is about to change, Your Imperial Majesty. The question is whether that change happens peacefully or not. As the human fleet held position throughout Kethrian space, a new chapter in galactic history began. The age of imperial dominance was ending, but what would replace it remained to be seen. One thing was certain. The galaxy would never underestimate the small ships from Earth again. The crystal halls of the Imperial Palace on Kethros Prime had never seen anything like this. Emperor Nexthul sat on his ancient throne, surrounded by his most trusted advisors, waiting for the arrival of beings from another world. My Emperor, General Rextarian said quietly, the human shuttle has entered our atmosphere. It's unlike anything we've ever seen. Through the massive windows of the throne room, they could see the alien craft descending. It moved without sound, its hull seeming to bend light around it. No engines were visible, no heat signatures detected. How many aboard? The Emperor asked. Our sensors detect only one life form, Dr. Zexandra reported. Captain Jiho is coming alone. High Scientist Kor Malith stepped forward. My Emperor, I must advise caution. We have studied their technology for days now, and every analysis confirms the same thing. They are centuries ahead of us in every field. Emperor Nexthul's scaled hands gripped the arms of his throne. For 300 years he had ruled through strength and fear. His empire controlled 67 star systems because no one could challenge Kethrian military might. Until now. What do we know about their capabilities, he asked. My Emperor, Dr. Zexandra consulted her datapad. Their ships can travel faster than our best vessels by a factor of 20. Their weapons can destroy our largest battle stations with single shots. Their shields deflect energy that would vaporize our hulls. And their numbers? At least 50 ships that we can detect. But my Emperor, their ability to appear simultaneously across our entire empire suggests coordination methods we cannot understand. Ambassador Velkira, the Empire's most experienced diplomat, had been studying human communications for days. My Emperor, their language patterns suggest a species that values cooperation over domination. They speak of peaceful coexistence and mutual benefit. Weakness, General Rextarian muttered. I don't think so, General, Ambassador Velkira replied. A species that can destroy our ultimate weapon with a single shot doesn't need to speak of peace unless they genuinely prefer it. The human shuttle landed in the palace courtyard with perfect silence. No thrusters, no landing jets, just a gentle settling onto the crystal pavement. The craft's design was impossibly elegant, all smooth curves and gleaming metal. A ramp extended from the shuttle's side, and Captain Han Jiho emerged. The Kethrians had expected something alien and frightening. Instead, they saw a being that looked almost familiar. Smaller than a Kethrian, with soft skin instead of scales, but clearly intelligent and confident. Captain Jiho wore what appeared to be an environmental suit, but it was unlike any protective gear the Kethrians had seen. The material seemed to shift and adapt as he moved, adjusting automatically to the alien atmosphere. "My Emperor," Security Chief Thoxmander spoke quietly into his communicator. "Our weapons cannot penetrate his suit. The material is unknown, and it appears to generate some kind of defensive field." Captain Jiho walked through the palace halls with calm confidence. Kethrian guards armed with the Empire's best weapons escorted him, but everyone present understood that if violence broke out, their weapons would be useless. In the Pioneers, Edge, orbiting high above the planet, Cultural Attaché Song Hyeri monitored her captain's vital signs and provided analysis through his suit's communication system. "Sir," she said in Korean, "the Emperor is present along with what appear to be military and scientific advisors. Their body language suggests fear mixed with curiosity." "Any signs of deception or planned aggression?" Captain Jiho asked silently through his suit's internal communication. "None that I can detect. They're genuinely awed by our technology." Captain Jiho entered the throne room and stopped at the appropriate distance from the Emperor. The massive crystal chamber was designed to intimidate visitors with its size and alien beauty. "Your Imperial Majesty," Captain Jiho said, his words translated by the universal translator built into his suit. "I am Captain Han Jiho, representing the United Earth Colonial Navy and the human species." Emperor Nexthul studied the small alien carefully. "Captain Jiho of Earth, you have demonstrated capabilities that challenge our understanding of what is possible. What do your people want?" "Security, prosperity, and room to grow," Captain Jiho replied simply. "The same things any intelligent species wants." "And you came here because?" "Because we've observed your empire's expansion patterns, your military actions, your treatment of conquered species. We're here to ensure that when humanity enters this region of space, there are clear rules for peaceful interaction." Strategic Advisor Kexton whispered urgently to the Emperor. "My lord, he speaks as if their expansion into our space is inevitable." Emperor Nexthul leaned forward on his throne. "And if we refuse to accept these rules?" Captain Jiho's expression remained polite, but his eyes hardened slightly. "Your Imperial Majesty, you've seen what one of our ships can do to your most powerful weapon. Would you like a demonstration of what our fleet can accomplish?" At that moment, every sensor array on Kithros Prime registered the same reading. The 50 human ships that had been maintaining distant orbits suddenly moved into formation around the planet. Not threateningly, but clearly visible to anyone with basic sensors. "My Emperor," Communications Officer Velkira reported from her station in the Palace Command Center. "The human ships have moved into orbit. They're not targeting anything, but their positioning would give them complete control of our orbital space." Dr. Zexandra studied the new formations with growing amazement. "My Emperor, the coordination required for such precise movements. They moved 50 ships into perfect formation simultaneously. The computational power alone." Emperor Nexthul felt the weight of absolute defeat for the first time in his long life. His empire's greatest strength had always been their ability to bring overwhelming force to bear on any enemy. These humans had casually demonstrated that they could do the same thing, but with technology so advanced it might as well be magic. "What kind of rules do you propose?" he asked quietly. Captain Jiho's manner became less formal, more conversational. "Trade agreements that benefit both sides. Territorial boundaries that respect existing claims while allowing for peaceful expansion. Technology sharing that helps everyone advance." "Technology sharing?" High Scientist Kormalith couldn't hide his eagerness. "We're not here to keep you in the Dark Ages," Captain Jiho replied. A more advanced galaxy benefits everyone, but aggression and conquest must end. General Rextarian stepped forward angrily. The Kethrian Empire has ruled this region for centuries. We will not be dictated to by aliens. General, Captain Jiho said calmly, you ruled this region because no one could stop you. That situation has changed. Are you threatening us? I'm stating facts. Your empire can continue to exist and even prosper, but the age of expansion through conquest is over. Not just for you, but for everyone. Ambassador Valkyra saw an opportunity. Captain, what would this cooperation look like in practice? Trade routes between our species, joint research projects, cultural exchange, mutual defense agreements against actual threats. Captain Jiho paused. The galaxy is large enough for all of us, but only if we work together instead of fighting over territory. Emperor Nexthul was silent for several minutes, processing this information. His advisors waited nervously, understanding that whatever decision he made would determine the future of their entire civilization. And if we agree to these terms, he asked finally, then humanity becomes your ally instead of your conqueror. You gain access to technologies that will revolutionize your civilization. Your people prosper, and the galaxy becomes a safer place for everyone. And if we refuse? Captain Jiho's expression remained calm, but his meaning was clear. Your Imperial Majesty, you've seen what we can do. We prefer cooperation, but we will defend ourselves and protect innocent people from aggression. High Scientist Kor Malith spoke up. My Emperor, if even a fraction of their technology became available to us, the advancement would be unprecedented, Dr. Zexandra agreed. Medical science, energy production, space travel, everything could be improved. Emperor Nexthul looked around his throne room at the advisors who had served him faithfully for decades. They were all looking at him with the same expression, hope mixed with fear. Captain Jiho, he said slowly, the Kethrian Empire accepts your proposal for negotiations. We will discuss these. New arrangements. Excellent, Your Imperial Majesty. I believe this is the beginning of a much brighter future for both our species. As the formal negotiations began, word spread throughout Kethrian space that their empire was no longer alone at the top of the galactic hierarchy. Some saw it as defeat, others as opportunity. But everyone understood that the galaxy had changed forever, and there was no going back to the way things were. The age of human expansion had begun, and it would reshape everything. 6 months had passed since the Pioneer's Edge first appeared on Kethrian sensors. The galaxy looked very different now. Director Nam Ji-won stood on the observation deck of the New Earth Embassy on Kethros Prime, watching the bustling traffic in the orbital space above. Human and Kethrian ships moved together in carefully coordinated patterns, their crews learning to work as partners rather than enemies. The trade numbers are remarkable, reported economic advisor Song Minwoo, studying his datapad. Kethrian industrial output has increased by 40% since we began sharing fabrication technologies. And our side? Director Nam asked. The Kethrians' theoretical mathematics are helping us solve problems we've struggled with for decades. Dr. Kwan Sora's joint research team made another breakthrough yesterday, down on the planet's surface. Dr. Kwan Sora worked alongside her Kethrian colleague, Dr. Zexandra, in a laboratory that would have been impossible to imagine just months ago. Human holographic displays showed complex equations while Kethrian crystal computers performed calculations at incredible speeds. The quantum field equations are stabilizing, Dr. Kwan reported excitedly. If this works, we could reduce faster than light travel time by another 30%. Dr. Zexandra studied the readings with equal enthusiasm. The combination of your miniaturization techniques with our mathematical models is producing results neither of our species achieved alone. Their work represented something new in galactic history, true cooperation between species that had once been on the brink of war. But not everyone was happy with the changes. In the depths of Kethros Prime's military complex, General Rextarian met with other officers who still dreamed of the old days. The room was shielded from electronic surveillance, a precaution that showed how desperate they had become. The Emperor has forgotten what it means to be Kethrian, General Rextarian said bitterly. We were conquerors, rulers of the galaxy. Now we take orders from aliens. Colonel Thekmarin nodded agreement. The humans have made us weak. Our fleets sit in dock while their ships patrol our space. Not for much longer, General Rextarian replied. I have contacts throughout the military. Officers who remember what the Empire used to be. Captain Morkelvos leaned forward. What are you suggesting, General? A return to strength. The humans are few in number, spread across multiple systems. If we strike quickly before they can coordinate. Sir, Captain Morkelvos said carefully, their ships destroyed the Worldbreaker with a single shot. That was one ship against our ultimate weapon. But what if we attacked their bases, their colonies, forced them to spread their forces thin? The other officers exchanged uncertain glances. They all remembered the demonstration of human military power. Meanwhile, on the human surveillance station hidden in the outer system, Intelligence Officer Bei Minsu monitored Kethrian military communications with growing concern. Sir, he reported to Admiral Li Dongwu, we're detecting increased activity among hardline military elements. General Rex's Tarian appears to be planning some kind of action. Admiral Li studied the intelligence reports. How serious is the threat? Unknown, sir. But the general has significant support among older military officers. They're frustrated with the new cooperative agreements. Keep monitoring, and alert Captain Shin Yuna's patrol group. If there's going to be trouble, we need to be ready. Captain Shin Yuna commanded the UES Intrepid, one of the newest human warships assigned to the Kethrian sector. Her ship was smaller than the Pioneer's Edge, but equipped with the latest defensive and non-lethal weapon systems. Status report, she asked her bridge crew. Tactical Officer Park. Jamin looked up from his console. Ma'am, we're detecting unusual movement patterns in the Kethrian Third Fleet. Several ships have left their assigned patrol routes. Any explanation? Official records show routine training exercises, but the formations don't match standard Kethrian training protocols. Commander Kim Taeyan studied the tactical display. Ma'am, if I didn't know better, I'd say they're positioning for a coordinated strike. Captain Shin frowned. Against what target? Unknown, but their positioning would give them access to the Nexus trade station. That's where most of our civilian personnel are located. The Nexus trade station was a joint human-Kethrian facility, a symbol of the new cooperation between species. It housed thousands of researchers, traders, and diplomats from both civilizations. Captain Shin made her decision. Alert Admiral Li, and prepare non-lethal suppression systems. General Rexitarian's plan went into action at 800 local time. 12 Kethrian warships, supposedly on training exercises, suddenly changed course toward the Nexus trade station. Their goal was simple: capture the facility, take human prisoners, and force Earth to negotiate from a position of weakness. All ships, attack formation, General Rexitarian broadcast to his fleet. Today we reclaim Kethrian honor. But as the rebel fleet approached their target, they found the UES Intrepid waiting for them. General Rextarian, Captain Shin's voice came over their communications. You are ordered to stand down immediately. Return to your patrol routes. Human vessel, withdraw from Kethrian space or be destroyed, General Rextarian replied. I'm afraid I can't do that, General. The Kethrian rebel fleet opened fire with everything they had. Plasma cannons, particle beams, and fusion missiles converged on the single human ship. None of them found their target. The UES Intrepid moved through the storm of weapons fire like it was dancing through rain. Every shot missed, every missile was deflected, every beam of energy passed harmlessly through empty space. Impossible, breathed Captain Morkelvos on the rebel flagship. How are they avoiding everything? General Rextarian watched in growing desperation as his ships poured their full firepower at the human vessel without effect. All ships converge. Surround them. But the human ship was already moving. It appeared next to the rebel flagship so quickly that Kethrian sensors couldn't track the movement. General, Captain Shin's voice was calm and professional. Your weapons cannot harm my ship. My weapons can disable yours without killing your crews. This can end peacefully, or it can end with your ships floating dead in space. Your choice. To prove her point, the Intrepid fired a single pulse at the nearest rebel cruiser. The Kethrian ship's engines shut down immediately. Its weapons went offline and its lights dimmed to emergency power. What did you do to them? General Rextarian demanded. Electromagnetic pulse precisely calibrated to disable your systems without harming your crew, Captain Shin explained. They're alive but helpless. One by one, the rebel ships suffered the same fate. Each vessel found itself completely disabled, drifting helplessly while their crews remained unharmed. Within 30 minutes, General Rex Tarian's rebellion was over. Emperor Nexthul arrived at the scene aboard his personal flagship, accompanied by a full Imperial escort. The sight that greeted him was both humbling and impressive. 12 of his empire's warships floating helplessly while a single human vessel waited calmly nearby. General Rex Tarian. The Emperor's voice was cold with anger. You have violated direct Imperial orders and attacked our allies. My Emperor. I was trying to restore Kethrian honor, General Rexitarian replied weakly. Honor? Emperor Nexthul looked at the disabled rebel ships. This is what dishonor looks like. Captain Shin could have destroyed all of you, but she chose mercy. That is true strength. Captain Shin opened a communication channel. Your Imperial Majesty General Rextarian and his followers are unharmed. They will need rescue, but there are no casualties. Captain, on behalf of the Kethrian Empire, I apologize for this incident. No apology necessary, Your Imperial Majesty. Every species has individuals who struggle with change. What matters is how the leadership responds. The aftermath of the failed rebellion marked a turning point. Emperor Nexthul used the incident to demonstrate that cooperation with humanity wasn't weakness. It was evolution. Ambassador Park. Seojin addressed the newly formed Galactic Council from humanity's permanent seat. Representatives from the crystalline Veltar, the hive-minded Thekal, and the nomadic Morketh listened as he outlined humanity's vision for the future. We came to the stars not as conquerors, but as partners, he said. We've learned from our own history that diversity makes us stronger. Together we can build something greater than any single empire. The Veltar ambassador, speaking through harmonic crystal resonance, replied, The humans have shown us that advancement comes through cooperation, not domination. The Thekal representative, their collective mind focused through their speaker drone, added, We have observed human behavior. They keep their promises and share their knowledge freely. Even the nomadic Morketh sent envoys, curious about this new species that had changed the galaxy's balance of power without conquest. Admiral Han Jiho, now promoted to fleet commander, watched from the observation deck of his new flagship as construction began on humanity's first major starbase in Allied space. The Pioneer's Edge was being preserved as a museum ship, a reminder of how first contact had changed everything. Fleet Coordinator Oh Mink-young approached with the latest expansion reports. Sir, we now have successful colonies in 12 systems, trade agreements with 7 species, and the exploration fleets report 3 new potentially habitable worlds. Admiral Jiho smiled. And casualties?